In this session, we introduce the second person in this story of Genesis chapter 38. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. As you recall, he had 3 sons by an unnamed woman. Now, some commentators believe that this unnamed woman was Bathshua. Bath means daughter of. We can give her that name or just leave it the way it is. She remains nameless. So we continue in Genesis 38 with some very sad news happening. And I entitled this session, Tamar, the Victim. You see, it takes 2 to raise children. As Judah and his unnamed wife raised their sons, the children must have received 2 very conflicting signals. This was because Judah taught what he learned in a one-God household, and his Canaanite wife taught what she learned in her pagan, multi-God household. It can well be imagined how confused those 3 boys must have been. But they had a choice. They had a choice to choose what is right or what is the most right. This is the essence, really, of the teaching of this group of verses 6 to 10. So Judah took a wife for the firstborn, whose name was Tamar, which means palm tree. This name aptly suited her, as in this chapter she did prove to be as strong and as resilient as a palm tree. Yes, this chapter is a story about Judah and about Tamar. Commentaries vary as to where Tamar came from. He chose Tamar to be his eldest son's wife. Some claim that she was one of the daughters of one of his brothers. One commentary claims that she was Levi's daughter. But most commentaries believe that she was Canaanite. But regardless of where Judah got her, he specifically chose her for his firstborn, and accepted her gladly. There was, however, one major complication. Instead of choosing what was right as taught by his father, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. Whoa! You see, what this wickedness was, we're never told. But it says, in the sight of the Lord. You know, it proves that it must have been something very evil, maybe surrounding the practices of their religion. It wouldn't surprise me. After the funeral arrangements were done, Judah said to Onan, his second son, "Go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother." You see, this traditional custom was for the preservation of the stock of the person who died, so that the widow could have offspring from him. A resulting son would not be called a son of his, but a son of his brother All the rest of the children born afterwards would have been reckoned the children of Onan. This was a custom in use in those times and very well known. And it wasn't a peculiar case. As a matter of fact, it was made law later on under Moses. So Tamar was not Onan's choice to have as a wife. And apparently, he did not like being told what to do. He did not appreciate having to hook up with her, to marry her according to his father's orders. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilt it on the ground, lest that he should give the seed to his brother. Folks, it was only the first child that would be his brother. Oh no, he wasn't willing to give his brother anything. He went into Tamar was another way of saying he enjoyed the pleasures of the intimate relationship, but when he was about to expel his seed, he spilt it on the ground. It was plain. He did this so his brother wouldn't have a son called by his name and maybe inherit the estate. Folks, the thing which he did, and this is right in Scripture, the thing which Onan did displeased the Lord. And what did the Lord do? He slew him also. Onan means strong. But guess who proved to be the stronger? God. The sin of Onan, by some commentaries and some Christian ministries, of which I have been part, they believe that his sin was masturbation. After all, he spilt his seed on the ground. But that would certainly not be true. See, his crime, Onan's crime, was his refusal to raise up seed to his brother. And rather than do it, he spilt the seed on the ground. He rendered himself incapable of giving his brother offspring. Folks, that's crazy. See, the first one would have been his brother. Then after that, everything would have been his. No, this is how much he hated his brother. Can you imagine that? See, long before it was law under Moses, it was an established custom founded on, now get this, divine precept. That means God inspired it. That if a man died childless, his brother was to take his wife and produce for her what would be considered children of the first husband. If the brother or closest relative to the widow's husband was already married, having intimacy with another woman would often be problematic with his family, now wouldn't it? This problem was solved. Folks, it was carried on by Orthodox Jews right up until the 20th century. Can you believe that? Oh, he died. His wife understood. Produce some offspring, but come back. You can't do anything more with her. Wow. But this problem was solved during the 20th century when artificial insemination was developed. Folks, you had it both ways. I don't have to have a relationship with my husband's wife, but I can give her offspring. Woohoo! And that is exactly what happened. But you see, Onan knew the seed would not be counted as his. Onan's family must have been extremely dysfunctional for him to hate his brother heir so much. But consider who his father was. Judah was one of the ringleaders to mastermind the killing of his own brother Joseph. Instead, he became the ringleader of selling him into slavery. You see, not only did he have a dysfunctional mom, he had a dysfunctional dad. So, when we examine this story and think about the wickedness in Judah and this unnamed woman's family, let us learn from this, never to let hate control us in any way. For that matter, don't even let that four-letter word be part of your vocabulary. A love that forgives is a strength, not a weakness, like some would think.